Welcome to Simply Sports Science, your go-to channel for making PE, sport and exercise science simple, clear and genuinely useful. When we study how the human body moves in sport and exercise science, we often break motion down into two key forms. Linear motion, where the body or object moves in a straight or curved line, and angular motion, where the body or object rotates around an axis. These two types of movement describe almost everything we see in sport, from a sprinter accelerating down a track to a gymnast rotating in the air. To understand and analyze these movements, we use Newton's laws of motion. These laws explain why movement starts, why it stops, and why it changes direction or speed. They apply equally to linear and angular motion, giving us a framework to understand almost every sporting technique. So let's begin with linear motion, which occurs when all parts of an object move the same distance in the same direction at the same time. A cyclist moving forward, a hockey puck sliding across the ice, or a swimmer travelling through the water are all great examples of linear motion. Newton's first law, the law of inertia, tells us that an object will stay still or keep moving at a constant speed in a straight line unless acted upon by an external force. In sport, this helps explain why a sprinter remains still in the blocks until the athlete applies force against them, or why a ball on the ground won't move unless it's kicked. When an athlete wants to start moving, stop moving, or change direction, forces must be applied. This leads us to Newton's second law, which states that acceleration depends on the size of the force and the mass of the object. In simple terms, more force equals more acceleration. This is why a more powerful sprinter accelerates faster, and why lighter sports objects like shuttlecocks respond very rapidly to small forces. Newton's third law tells us that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This principle is essential in linear motion. When a runner pushes backwards into the ground pushes back with an equal and opposite force, propelling them forwards. The reaction force is what drives nearly all human movement on land. Now let's move to angular motion, which occurs when an object or body rotates around an axis. This axis might be internal, like a gymnast rotating around their own centre of mass, or external, like a diver spinning around the edge of the diving board. Angular motion introduces new but related concepts: torque, moment of inertia, angular velocity, and angular momentum. But Newton's laws still apply. They simply adapt to rotational mechanics. Newton's first law in rotational terms states that an object will maintain its rotational state unless acted upon by external torque. For example, once a gymnast begins a twist in mid-air, they will continue twisting until another force, like contacting the ground, changes that rotation. The rotational version of Newton's second law explains that angular acceleration depends on the size of the torque and the moment of inertia. Torque is the turning force applied to an object, while moment of inertia is resistance to rotation, influenced by how mass is distributed. When a figure skater pulls in their arms, they reduce their moment of inertia and therefore spin faster. When they extend their arms out, they increase their moment of inertia and slow down. Newton's third law still applies here as well. When an athlete applies a rotational force to something, the object pushes back. A classic example is a swimmer's arm sweeping through the water. Water pushes back with an equal and opposite force, helping rotate the torso and propel the body forward. Both linear and angular motion often occur together. A footballer kicking a ball uses linear motion in their approach run and angular motion at the hip and knee during the swing. A gymnast launching into a somersault uses linear motion for takeoff and angular motion for rotation. Even everyday movements combine the two, such as throwing, jumping, or changing direction. Understanding how Newton's laws apply across these two types of movement helps athletes and coaches refine technique. For example, improving the action-reaction force from the ground enhances acceleration in sprinting. Adjusting body position can reduce rotational resistance and increase spin speed in diving. Increasing force application time can improve the impulse delivered when striking a ball. Positioning limbs closer to the axis can increase angular velocity, allowing for faster rotations in ice dancing. And biomechanics helps us see these laws not just as abstract ideas, but as practical tools. They explain why some athletes accelerate so smoothly, why certain kicking or throwing techniques are more powerful, and why posture and balance are so important in rotational sports. When an athlete understands how force, mass, torque, and motion work together, their technique becomes more efficient and more effective. They waste less energy, they produce more power, and they achieve greater control. And coaches use these principles to break down skills, to identify errors, and refine movements in ways that support both performance and long-term athlete well-being. So whether we're analysing the smooth glide of a sprinter, the explosive twist of a gymnast, or the precise rotation of a discus thrower, Newton's laws give us the scientific language to understand what's happening. Linear and angular motion may look very different on the surface, but both follow the same principles. When athletes learn to work with these laws rather than against them, they unlock more efficient movement, safer technique, and ultimately unlock higher performance. Thanks for watching Simply Sports Science. If you found this helpful, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our IB Sports Science content. We've got revision guides, exam tips and clear explanations to help you be successful. And don't forget to visit us at www.simplysportscience.co.uk. Join us again next time where we'll keep making sports science simple.